Welcome our guests on the show.
Here comes the judge.
Yes.
Here comes the judge.
The
Everybody
Honorable
knows.
Judge Carl Boyd of Circuit Court of Cook County. He is joining us on the next stop. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here, Brother Rick and Brenda. You two epitomize what a power couple looks like. You epitomize what power people do. And you epitomize what we need in our community is true leadership. So with that being said, I thank you very much.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah,
and hey, Michelle, too, because I was digging that red dress she had on. I had to put that out there. Okay.
Yeah, and nobody can see the dress. You realize you're on radio.
She's not even here, but I just have to give a shout out.
But we thank you for doing that. You know, the one thing I love about it is
my
that
wife, Michelle. Thank you very much, Brenda.
And so we got a Julianite home again here. Everybody's here from Julian, and Carl is the leader of the pack, doing his thing. And we are always honored to have Carl here. Just an awesome man of God, a man in himself. So we thank you, sir, for being a part of our show again. Carl, we have this situation where, unfortunately, a lot of times people, get in trouble. And they do things. Some do it, deliberately. Some have an issue where something happens to them. And then they wind up getting a record. And then, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, everybody else is not like the judge. What is the judge on TV's name?
Mathis.
Judge Mathis. He knew what I was
saying.
Everybody's not like Judge Mathis that can straighten their lives out. And so, Carl, we get into these situations where we get this record, and it's almost impossible for us to remove certain things. So talk to a couple of people right now, some women out there, their children, or some people out there that have a record and they're having some kind of issues with maybe getting it expunged or removed from their record. What can they do?
Well, that's a very long and extended topic. Recently, Dorothy Brown, the clerk of the circuit court, held an expungement summit. I believe the date was June 4, 2016. Mm-hmm. I believe this is the 10th or 12th year. I participated in, I was a part of that expungement, have been a part of the expungement summits since the inception. So I have not missed 1 year. Amen. And all the credit of our clerk, Dorothy Brown. But nevertheless, individuals who find themselves plagued with records, criminal records, felony convictions, even misdemeanor convictions, they think it is the end of the train, but that's just the beginning of the ride. Because there are certain things that can be done in limited situations to help a person extricate themselves from that precarious position. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight. On the street, we call those things expungements.
Yeah. And so, I remember those expungement programs. How did that work? How do you get involved in that kind of program? If I say I do have a record, and I don't know what record I want to have today, but I got a record.
Better be a singing record.
Funny. And she's here every Tuesday.
Same time, same place.
How do I go about now being a part of a program that helps me to remove or expunge a record that I'm trying to get taken care of?
Well, let me just give this caveat at the inception. What we're going to talk about, we're just speaking in general terms.
Right.
It's not legal advice.
Right.
It's just man to man, woman to man. We're just trying to help our community, educate them.
That is correct.
Thank you very much for hosting tonight's show. The Expungement Summit is the inception of Clerk Dorothy Brown. However, you do not have to wait until the expungement summits occur in order for records to be expunged. So that's a very profound and great question that you asked, sir. You can have a record expunged depending on the nature of the record. It depends on the type of record we're referring to.
Mm-hmm. Like a felony or a misdemeanor or something?
An expungement, let's just define what an expungement is. An expungement, first of all, occurs when an arresting agency or the state of Illinois police physically destroy all of the criminal records and return those records to you. That's an expungement, where they destroy the records and they will also return your records, the original records, to you.
Does this work for murderers, too?
No.
Okay, that's
why.
You've been watching too much Lifetime, girl.
Absolutely.
Murderers, too?
Absolutely. There are only, expungements are limited only to certain circumstances.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to understand. We hear the term expungement, but under the same umbrella of expungement, you can have your records sealed, and you can also have what are called pardons or executive clemencies. That's where the governor of the state will absolve you or help to eliminate and eradicate your criminal past or your criminal history. And at the end of every presidential term, you hear the president, Obama, they're discussing certain pardons that he may issue as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's making sense to me.
That's
with
right.
the governor pardon certain
Absolutely.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
we have this at the federal and at the state level. But on the state level, you asked about expungement. In the, certain cases that can be expunged are cases where there's a finding of not guilty. So if you have been arrested for a crime and there's a finding of not guilty, that is immediately expungible. That means that you do not have to wait a particular period of time. You can go to the clerk of the circuit court, file the appropriate papers, and have that record expunged. The fee to expunge a record is approximately $120. Yeah, approximately.
Your mic's over there.
Approximately $120. However, with the budgetary issues, it may have increased now, so you may be out of about $200. But if $200 can help me change my life,
Yes.
Yeah.
if $200 can put me back on the track, I think that's a great investment.
Oh, yes,
in self,
definitely.
an investment in self. So we spoke about those cases where there's a finding of not guilty. Many individuals are arrested and the case is just stricken off the call. They just dismiss it because it's bogus. Those cases are expungible.
Yeah.
Okay.
You go to court, you may pick up a traffic ticket. The officer doesn't show. Lucky you, the case may get the case may get dismissed. That's expungible. So you see how that operates,
Yeah.
or even sometimes you're convicted and your case is reversed. If your case is reversed and there's a finding of not guilty, again, that matter is expungible. Or if they do something called nolli pros, the state just refuses to prosecute. The complaining witness appears in court and says, you know what, this was a beef between my friend and I. I know he or she beat me up, but I changed my mind. I had it coming. So I'm not going to prosecute. Nolli pros.
Oh, wow.
Again, that matter is expungible.
Okay.
And so those are the things that we need to know. And then you have certain cases that are not expungible. You asked about the murders.
Murder.
Right.
Not expungible.
Remember that now.
Correct. So
Okay.
before you,
I haven't
Before-
watched Snapped yet.
Okay.
you haven't watched that yet?
Yeah, okay.
So those on a very at the surface level, those are the issues that are usually questions actually usually asked regarding expungement
Yeah.
and the procedures and the cost.
What about the drug dealers?
Okay. Now, there are certain cases where if you are not a drug dealer, but if you happen to be a user, and the judge issues you a certain type of probation, that may be expungible, but you have to know that at the inception.
Right.
For example, there are certain cannabis cases. There's a Section 10 under the Cannabis Control Act. If you receive that type of probation, it is expungible. If you receive 410 probation for some other controlled substance, cocaine or crack, if you receive 410 probation, usually that indicates that there's a very small amount of drugs involved that warrant some court intervention, some court correction, and to gather your attention. But if you're fortunate enough to receive the 410 probation, then that too is expungible. Now, if you receive a conviction on another type of drug case where the amount is over a certain limit or above a certain level, then that matter is generally not expungible. So and what we find is that a lot of individuals say, oh, man, you can get that case expunged. True and false, depending on the amount and the type of sentencing you received when the judge when the judge issued the decision.
Yeah, and that's very important information to know that. Now, I can almost tell you right now that the drug dealer is not going to get expunged. I don't have to be a lawyer for that one to tell you. The drug dealer is, the only expunge he's going to get is expunged to the jail.
Right. Well, those individuals, unfortunately, perpetrate some crimes that linger, and that plagues our society.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, those type of individuals, the dealers are definitely do not qualify for any type of expungement.
What about the individuals that didn't get their record expunged and they're back in the work? I mean, they're out of jail and they're trying to get back into the workforce. What can they expect out there? How hard is it?
That's a complicated and convoluted question. How much time do we have?
We got some time for you.
To the individuals that have been incarcerated, they're back on the street and they're trying diligently to correct their past mistakes. They're trying to clean up their life. First of all, let's assume that person has gone through the appropriate education, training, has received some unique skills. For example, people say, well, I have a record and there's nothing I can do out here because no one will hire me. I tell you, false. That answer is false, because even though you may have a record, you still can acquire a trade. You can acquire a vocation skill. You can become a stylist. You can become a barber, the HVAC person, heating and air conditioning. You can become an electrician, a plumber. So, there are many. You can become an entrepreneur. There are many things you can do, even though you have a record.
That is taking matters in your own hands.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to take matters into your own hands.
And that's so good you're saying that, Carl, that, people realize is that, there are trades that you can learn and that you can take matters in your own hand. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to someone. You've got to get that education.
Absolutely.
And then apply that to trying to get your own business going, or go to someone with that education that'll give you an opportunity.
Correct. Absolutely correct. And see, if you've stumbled and you fail, let's say you stumble and you fail, and I'm just speaking metaphorically here. So you've been released from prison, 5 years have passed, and you still say, wowsy, wowsy, woo, woo, poor me. Well, you have your own self to blame, because I believe that education is available to anyone who desires or seeks it. Now, I understand that a formal education, not everyone's going to go to college. But there's something out here. The universe has you have some talent or a gift that the universe is waiting to receive. And you have to find what that gift or talent is that lies within you. You see, I have a sister that has never gone or never graduated from high school. However, her gift has transported her all the way to the East Coast, where she's the head person over the Eastern District of the United States in telecommunications.
Go, sister boy, go.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She's really a big deal.
Yeah.
And what she showed me is that what you can do with determination, persistence, and tenacity. She's the most tenacious person I know. And that's probably why I'm a judge today, because I watched her. I said, if she can do that, I know I can do this.
Yeah, and that is so nice to hear that, because it lets a person understand that you have a gift, you have an ability, you have a purpose, and because you've had a setback doesn't mean you can't have a comeback.
Right.
You have to see it in yourself and believe in it, like Judge Mathis, like his sister. They had to see that and then go through the struggles and believe that they could make it through. And a lot of times, Carl, what we do is that we see something wrong and we want to give up.
Absolutely. A lot of people they are afraid of the pain associated with failure.
Yeah.
And see, you have to go through some pain. Some of your friends will inflict pain on you when they tell you that you cannot do it. Some of your family members inflict pain when they say you are a loser and you can't go any further. And sometimes we even inflict pain on ourselves when we have that defeated mentality, when we say, this is just not for me, or it's too hard. Nothing is too hard. Nothing is really too hard. What's hard is when you give up. That's hard.
Yeah.
What's hard is when you have a family to feed and no income. That's hard.
So what do you tell the person that's an ex-convict and they know their criminal record is going to show up it's going to show up for life, and they can't get it expunged, but they want to start over? What would you tell them?
Well, you may not be able to expunge certain crimes. However, it's possible to have them sealed. And that's something that most individuals are unaware of.
Yeah.
You can have your record sealed. When you seal a record, that means that it is not available to be viewed by members of the public. It can only be viewed by state, county, federal agencies, or any law enforcement agency can view a sealed record. But most private employers cannot access a record once it has been sealed.
So, Carl, talk to us about how do you do that? How would I've got a record that I can't get expunged, but I want it sealed so it doesn't get me, interference with a job.
And
how would I
much?
go through that, and what are the kind of things that can be sealed?
Okay, assuming that the matter can be sealed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about some matters that can be sealed. A DUI. We've heard of DUIs before. Those cannot be expunged, and sometimes that may be prohibitive to employment, but it can be sealed. So you claim that your matter.
I ain't no drunk. I mean, I was just saying. Okay.
That's Tracy, ladies and gentlemen.
we definitely going to work on your expungement of the DUI, I can see.
Just saying.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Reckless driving, another matter that can be sealed, not expunged, but it can be sealed. Or let's say that you had a lapse in your moral judgment and you were convicted or received supervision for soliciting a prostitute. That matter, not expungible, but it can be sealed. But see, these are the things that we need to know. You host a dog fighting ring, right? Not expungible, but it can be sealed. And you, believe it or not, I think they call it PETA. PETA will punish you.
PETA.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
PETA will punish you for mistreatment of an animal.
Yes.
Or if you got a fur coat on.
And so that may be the item that prohibits you from receiving a job, but for it being sealed. If you can have that matter sealed, then that may open the opportunity for employment.
That's good stuff, Carl, because
really
I think a lot of people don't realize that because they get so afraid, like, I got this on record, they're going to find it. But if you go through the proper steps, if you know the proper steps to do that, Carl, here's the question is like, I'm naive to that. I consider myself a somewhat of a smart person. I don't know this. Don't be slapping over there, girl.
Because you sell yourself short all the time.
I'm just saying, I don't want to say that I'm brilliant because I'm not.
He's just being humble, Brenda. That's your husband.
I'm
taking the modest route.
Right, I'm taking the modest route. I mean, I got to judge here. I got to be modest.
Right. You got a real judge.
How would I find that information out? It doesn't seem like it's readily available.
Right.
I'm a mother or a father that has a child that I know that has an issue, but yet I don't know this. How would I go about finding that information out and going to the right places to be able to help them out?
Actually, they have this really wonderful tool called Google. You can really Google it.
You can Google anything.
But you don't even think about
we
that.
don't.
I do.
Yeah.
But it's great that you ask these questions, though, because you are asking the same or questions that other people
Right.
are
thinking about. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So the process to expunge and to seal a record are almost identical. Paperwork is almost identical.
Oh.
The only difference is the type of relief you are requesting. If you do not qualify to have a matter expunged, then you want to have it sealed. And
What's the
therein
price
lies
of that?
pardon?
What's the price to that?
Approximately $200.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just probably, $200.
$200 can change your life,
Yeah, it can.
change your family situation. About 7 or 8 years ago, when I was a lawyer working in Expungement Summit, there was a young man. He was a licensed tile layer, and he had a very rewarding career at the McCormick Place. Had been working for this company for at least 15 years. To work at the McCormick Place, all workers had to go through a second background check.
Oh, not one.
And when he went through the second background check for the McCormick Place, that's when his past was discovered.
Yeah.
And he lost his job.
Wow.
As a 15-year tile layer. He came to the Expungement Summit because his matter was a felony, not a misdemeanor. His matter could not be expunged, but it could be sealed. And therein lies the difference.
Oh, wow. And if he would have known that, he could have. Now, unfortunately, because it had happened, he can't get that job back.
Well, he may have sacrificed that particular or lost that job, but I'm certain by now he is back in the ranks of the
employment.
Gainfully employed.
Yeah.
It's different between employed and
gainfully
employed.
Right.
Our that brother is gainfully employed.
And it's so great that you expressed that because, with that scenario, if he would have known that information, he could have sealed that and they would have never found it and he wouldn't go through that process. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen out there that are listening, we need to know this information for our families and friends. And so we're very thankful that Judge Carl Boyd is here helping us understand some of these things in a hypothetical situation of what you can do with situations like this. And it's very important that we understand the difference between an expungement and sealed and what can be done and how someone can, be able to remove a record or expunge or to seal it so they can help them in their daily lives. Because also, it can mess you up with credit. It can mess you up with trying to get a home. Everything, because when
mess you up dating.
Yeah, Okay, well, we ain't gonna go that far.
Hey guys, I have a question because we are doing this wonderful thing now, Facebook Live, and I've actually put out there if anyone had any questions to either give us a call or Facebook us. So I do have a question, and they're asking, can I expunge several offenses on one document, or is each case separate?
The clerk requires that you list all of your items, all matters that for which you've been arrested, all have to be listed in one expungement petition. It's called a petition. So they must all be listed in that petition, and they must all qualify to be expunged. Oh, wow. If you have one matter that does not qualify for an expungement, then none can be expunged.
Wow.
So it's better to do it separate.
No,
you have to do it all together.
Attached to the petition, you must include your rap sheet, and your rap sheet basically is your criminal history.
Oh.
And believe it or not, they have some very astute lawyers that read and review these petitions. All petitions are reviewed by someone from the state's attorney's office, as well as someone representing the Illinois State Police, and even the municipality, if it's not in Chicago, the municipality where the crime occurred. So you have all these eyes reviewing the petition, and they require you to attach your rap sheet along with the petition so that they can identify all of the offenses, and they must all be qualified to be expunged. If one cannot be expunged, then none can be expunged. Therefore, as opposed to expunged, we use that new word we call
sealed.
Bingo.
But you know what's interesting about this? So a person has to list everything with their rap sheet for the same fee of $200.
Correct.
You could get
Absolutely.
everything wiped out.
Absolutely.
Right.
But if one thing messes it up, do you
Not
get your money back?
No.
No. Well, the smart thing about it,
and that's another great question, and that's what was so profound about this the concept of the expungement summit, because at the expungement summit, if you did not qualify or if you didn't have the financial resources to afford to pay the $200 fee to have your petition filed, then judges like myself and a host of other judges who volunteered for this expungement summit were able to waive your fees. So your fees can be waived.
Yeah.
Wow.
And again, you do not have to wait until the expungement summit occurs. If you qualify to have a matter sealed or expunged, you can still have those fees waived this very day.
So, Carl, before we let you go, where would I go to if I wanted to do that today? I want to expunge about 5 of the things that I've done wrong.
Okay.
Where would I go?
All right. First of all, there's only parking tickets you have, so they don't have to be expunged. but let's assume, Brother Rick is very modest.
Yeah, right. And there were some parking tickets, by the way.
Let's assume that an individual wants to have their record expunged. The first thing you must do is let's assume that individual is arrested somewhere here in Cook County. You have to go to, let's say, Chicago. You have to go to the police station at 35th and Michigan. I believe there's about a $16 fee you would pay to receive a copy of your rap sheet. Okay. You order your rap sheet today. You return in 1 week. You will receive your rap sheet. After you receive the rap sheet, then you have to go to the Daily Center downtown, and I believe it's the 9th or 10th floor. From that rap sheet, they will help you read and interpret it. You have to receive the certified copy of convictions. Now, each certified copy will cost you $9. So you have the individual, our hypothetical person had 5 cases, so that's another $45 you have to spend.
$16 plus the $45.
Correct. Now, you have your certified copy of the convictions, you have your rap sheet, you're ready to file your petition. You then complete the paperwork that the clerk will give you. This is nothing new, magical. The clerk will give it to you right there on I believe it's the 9th or 10th floor of the Daily Center. You complete the paperwork, give it to the clerk. Now, you have to mail copies of those petitions to certain agencies, and all that information appears on the forms. But in a nutshell, and speaking very basic here, that's what it takes to expunge a record.
Now, how long do you have to wait to have those records expunged? So if I did something 6 months ago, can I have it expunged?
Certain matters can be immediately expunged. Again, if it's not guilty, it can be expunged immediately.
What's immediately, like 24 hours,
no,
1
like
month?
the next day. Next day. There's
24 hours.
Finding not guilty, your case is thrown out.
Yes,
it's SOL
Dang,
or nolly
cross.
pros.
That girl. No.
It's immediately
That
expungible.
was not from the Let's Stay Together show, but go ahead, Carl.
All right. And then there are certain matters where you have to wait a certain period of time. If you receive court supervision for certain offenses, then that's when a waiting period is involved, and you have to wait a minimum of 2 years if you receive supervision. Yes.
What about the person who what's that ankle bracelet thing?
Electronic monitoring.
Right, they have
We call
that.
it ankle bracelet. There's nothing
ankle bracelet.
about an
Well, you can tell I'm not a criminal.
Right,
so-
yeah.
But
what
do
your
they-
wife is so well
Ain't
adorned.
she
And all
like,
that jewelry, she calls
yeah,
it
right,
bracelet.
ankle bracelet. We got to
Okay.
get one of those for you, baby.
No, right, okay. What if they have an ankle
Electronic
monitoring
bracelet, yes.
device on their ankle, and you know what I'm trying to say.
Go
How
ahead.
does that get? Do that get expunged? They said, well,
It's on you
Well,
now.
I can tell you, oftentimes individuals commit nonviolent offenses, and sometimes they are, as opposed to being housed in Cook County Jail, where the cost to house an inmate is possibly about $200 a day, somewhere. Let's say on an average $100 a day. I could either incarcerate you for $100 a day or place you on electronic monitoring and keep you in your house, and it costs the taxpayers $10
That's
a
how
day.
that goes.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why you see some individuals on the electronic monitoring bracelet
Yeah.
I
device.
seen one today.
Oh, really? Was it me?
But see, he wasn't in the house. See, that's
Well,
my
it depends
point.
now.
Was he in our neighborhood?
He may
I was
be,
at Walmart.
That,
Oh, okay.
that person may be in
Go
transit.
out, right?
They may be in
Look,
transit.
I was at Walmart.
They may be in what?
in transit, meaning that
Okay.
they're on their way to a specified location that has been cleared prior to them leaving their residence.
because he
Yeah.
was in the pharmacy line with me, and I'm like, what is that on his
Maybe he
ankle?
needed medicine.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we ain't gonna get into the conversation. Hey, Carl, you know, it's been so great that we've got to have you back, man, because there's so much information we've got to learn about
There's
this.
a host
Yeah.
of information about it. I did bring with me a list of agencies that help individuals that
Yeah.
once they have completed their term of imprisonment, they return to our community. There are a host of agencies that help individuals find employment as well as help them with education.
Give us that information.
Well, one of them is the. Let's see, we have so many.
I tell you what, Carl, give me a break. We're going to go
Yes.
to a commercial break. We're going to come back right back to Judge Carl Boyle. We're going to extend this a little bit. This is Reverend Rick McCain with Brenda McCain, Tracy Brown Howard, Dion, and we've got the Honorable Judge Carl Boyd here with us. We'll be back right after these commercial breaks. All right, welcome back to Let's Stay Together Talk. I'm your host, Reverend Rick, with my baby, my girl, my boo, author Brenda McCain. We're here with the Honorable Judge Carl Boyd talking about, now that I've got a record, what can I do now, and how can you help out with expunging, or what's the other thing I called it real quick? Sealing a record. And we've got him here for a little bit longer, so this has been a very hot topic subject. Carl, you was giving some information for people to go to agencies to help out.
Absolutely. After an individual has been returned to society, there's many resources that they can apply to receive job placement and as well as job training. One is the Office of Reentry Management through the Illinois Department of Correction. Office of Reentry Management through the Illinois Department of Correction. So the same agency that caused you to be incarcerated
I'll turn around and help you.
would absolutely.
Wow, isn't
would
that
also
something?
provide you with assistance. but you know what? People have not because they ask
Right.
not. They just don't ask.
Yeah.
And so that's just one agency. Another one is called the Prison Action Committee. It's they also have a reentry program, the Prison Action Committee. And again, you can Google these things.
Yeah.
So if you're at home writing it down, as opposed to waste so much time giving you all the contact information, I'm just sharing the names. Another better known institution is called the Safer Foundation. The Safer Foundation is a non-for-profit organization that helps work with incarcerated offenders to educate and help reintegrate them into society.
Wow.
Now, this is not just for you. This is for your family.
Right.
So if you are listening to this program is for you.
Yeah.
If your brother, your cousin, your sister, your parent has been incarcerated, this program is for you.
Yeah.
And while we were off the air, Reverend Rick, I told you and your wife, Brenda, that this program, this information is what we need in our community.
Yeah.
So Flesh and Blood didn't give you this program. This came from,
Amen.
This was divine order.
Oh, yes. Thank God.
And the last program is called St. Leonard Ministries. That's another program to help individuals that were formerly incarcerated reintegrate back into society with education and possible. We're talking about job placement as well. So we're not just talking about education. We're talking about education plus job placement.
Wow.
Now, are these Illinois?
These are Chicago-based organizations.
No excuse then.
And how I discovered these programs was when I was a younger man and an entrepreneur. I had a different business along the 103rd Street Halsted corridor. I was asked by one of these institutions or organizations to help hire a person that was incarcerated, and we did.
Yeah.
And that person came with a great set of soft skills, interviewed very well, was extremely polite, and was one of the better employees. And what's so good about it is the other individuals that worked in my store, they were unaware of his background.
Right. Because it was sealed.
Hey.
Learn that word.
That's right.
Hey, I didn't
Sealed.
learn something today.
So if a matter cannot be expunged, you want to see whether or not it can be sealed. And then let's say you have a person that has just did a 180-degree turn in their life. They had some troubles when they were 19, 20 years old. But they've gone through college, educated themselves, found a job, and really done some outstanding work in the community. They are the individuals that are ripe to have their matter pardoned by the governor.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And so that's how that goes. Now, once you get your matter pardoned, that is the equivalent of having it expunged.
Yeah.
Because along with the pardon, more than likely, your matter can be expunged.
Amen.
So turkeys just don't get pardoned.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like, what is she
That's right.
talking
You're
about?
absolutely right.
Hey, Carl, we want to thank you very much for sharing with us. Carl, we're gonna have to have Carl come back again. Carl, we're gonna have you pick a subject the next time to talk about, because he's so informative with all the information that he provides for us. We are just so honored to have you here, brother. Thank you very much. He is doing some wonderful things. Him and his wife are just an awesome couple themselves, and we thank God for you and all the things that you do. And this is not only is he a knowledgeable man, a judge, he's a Christian.